Captain Nathaniel Sanderson, UN Command Cruiser USS Theodore Roosevelt. We clipped another one that came too close. The deck guns ripped their ship in half, blocked a few incoming lasers too. The Nimitz's point defense guns ran dry and she took a hit. She started spinning out of formation as the missile slowly slagged her hull. The creeping glow of the intense heat that made the steel burn red. The Malta fired off the last of her nukes and rammed ahead. The laser fire took her apart piece by piece as she just floated on past. Our own guns were running hot, jamming again and again before the machinery just broke altogether. But in spite of it all, we took so many of them with us. Finally, the Roosevelt took a hit amidship. The missile convected immense heat through the hull, and I felt the air burn long before it truly reached us. I managed to stay awake just long enough to see the whole bridge turn bright red, and see the bravest men and women to ever serve at my side, all of them, turn into a red meat slothing off the bone. After that, not too sure. I guess I died. Supreme Commander Zvosk. 40 ships had been lost in the attack. 19 million souls were lost, and rad sickness was taking more still. The human fleet was gone, their ships torn asunder, and yet they took so many of us with them. Even my flagship had been damaged in the fight. Our crew compartment and cargo hold had been ripped open, and near enough a third of my crew were lost to void exposure. I gave the order to reform at the fourth planet and to effect repairs. I didn't want to be jumped by another fleet. When will the second wave reach the beacon we sent? A week and a half, my lord. We can wait a while. As soon as they reach the beacon, inform them of the battle, and tell them to meet us at the fourth planet. I heaved a heavy sigh and gave one last order before retiring to my quarters. I sent a small pack of scout ships to Earth, hoping that they could shed some light on the enemy before we landed. As I sat in my bed, I couldn't help but review the after-action reports from the different captains. The enemy warships were, upon close inspection, pathetically primitive. Horrifically underpowered reaction drives only barely allowed them to catch up to the flotilla. The cannons they used to tear into our ships at close range were similar to our own ground-based artillery. Their hulls were unarmored and, even more importantly, unshielded, while our own shields were of little use, as they didn't seem to have any mounted directed energy weapons. They were still monumentally important for blocking background radiation from the crew and soldiery. How had these monkeys even survived in space at all, I wondered. But of even more importance was their wonder weapon. Some monstrous invention capable of surpassing the largest theoretically possible explosions, and producing radiation strong enough to brute force their way through our shields. It made my head spin and my guts churn. But while I had some time to myself, I decided to look over the historical records for theories similar to this wonder weapon, hoping to find some relevant theories we might have stumbled upon, and hoping against hope that they'd never dare to use one on their own cradle world. Commander Hugh McDonnell, American 1st Infantry Division. The fleet was gone, all of them. And yet, I couldn't help but laugh. The beating that they dished out in their final hours gave me hope. Hope that I'd been running without for a good long while. The alien fleet hadn't just been mauled, they'd been scarred. Waiting over Mars for a solid week, so badly thrashed that they took a whole goddamn week to rethink their decision. Maybe the propaganda was getting better, or maybe we just saw the first signs of victory. Well, their fleet did eventually move on Earth. They started laying down the law on Luna and paying the price for it. But eventually, fighting in Luna's subterranean mazes wound down, and the guns on the moon went silent. Then the rain started. We didn't just take it, though. We didn't just let our cities be burned from orbit. We lit the sky with fire of our own. Blazing trails of Sea-Whiz fire arced all over the horizon for almost a month. Air-to-air missiles screamed their song, and on June 5th, 2102, their first ship landed. That first ship landed with some semblance of grace in the American Midwest, crushing a good portion of the cornfield as it rested its hull against the earth. F-42 Hellraisers were circling the damn thing before it even opened its doors. They dropped just about everything they could on it. A few dozen 1,000-pound bombs, a good number of AGM-297 Thundercrackers, even some old Hellfire 6s. Boots were on the ground within days to pick through the wreckage. They didn't last long when the rest of their fleet came down. Then the aliens started sending out flyers by the hundreds. If they saw you, they'd try to laser you down. I even saw it happen once. The Big Red One was on the road to evac every little town in the Midwest. A shit job from any point of view, especially since the roads were worn down to gravel and the highways weren't much better. But we got it done, just like the rest of the division setting up the defensive line along the Mississippi. but it happened while we were clearing out one of those little towns that a flyer went overhead. I spied it after Spiegel pointed it out. Then Spiegel's head rolled off his neck. A couple of guys lit it up, and it bisected a JLTV. I radioed in, calling out for a Hellraiser to swat it. Took a while for the damn jet to get to us, though. We had an M12 Blanchard IFV in our convoy. Those boys managed to raise their 30mm to start taking pot shots, and then that damn laser focused right on them. Didn't do much good, though. The Blanchards got a fucking tough skin, and the boys inside didn't seem to mind. But with the 30mm dropping just a little short, they raised their ATGM launcher, fired once and gave the flying pricks one hell of a fright. The first shot went right across their nose, and wouldn't you know it, they fucking crashed. Just keeled over in a panic and couldn't recover. That's also the first time I got a look at their tech. All sleek and glossy and neat. Sure looked alien to me. I called off the Hellraiser and ran my hand over the sleek metal, but some FNG decided to go poking around in the wreck. To the surprise of absolutely no one, some alien shit sprayed out of the broken machine, catching him right in the face. We all had a good laugh, and he whined about getting some of it in his eye. We didn't pay him much mind until his eyes rolled right out of his head. I felt bad for laughing, but to his credit, the new guy was taking it better than us. Just sort of stumbled back to the JLTV on my shoulder and just said, "Hey, it's better than getting shot, you know." We gave him some painkillers, and I called in a medevac. When Company Command sent Helo our way, we got our first news from the Mississippi front. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. Everything I used is in the description below. If there's a story you'd like to hear narrated, let me know and I'll reach out to the author and see if we can make that happen. Thanks again. It's a scary world out there. But remember, to be brave and look up, to seek the stars.